From our Chicago studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Samana Siddiqui. Our top story tonight. In his likely final UN General Assembly address, President Joe Biden centered on the urgent need for peace in the Middle East, particularly between Israel and Hamas. He continued to defend Israel's war on Gaza, saying any country facing an attack will ensure it never happens again. However, he described the situation in Gaza as dire, with innocent lives lost and communities devastated. Biden also addressed the volatile situation in Lebanon, warning that without concerted effort, Lebanon could spiral into a crisis mirroring Gaza's. He called on international leaders to work together to prevent further escalation and to support efforts towards a sustainable two-state solution for Israel and Palestine. Throughout his speech, Biden defended his administration's foreign policy decisions. This includes the controversial U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan and his efforts to reinforce alliances and multilateral cooperation. He contrasted his approach with the isolationist tendencies of past administrations.
Full-scale war is not in anyone's interest. Even if the situation has escalated, a diplomatic solution is still possible. In fact, it remains the only path to lasting security to allow the residents from both countries to return to their homes and the border safely. And that's what we're working tirelessly to achieve. Now is the time for the parties to finalize its terms, bring the hostages home, and secure security for Israel and Gaza free of Hamas' grip, ease the suffering in Gaza, and end this war.
Israeli airstrikes have killed at least 558 people, including 50 children in Lebanon. According to Lebanon's health ministry, another 1,835 people have been injured since Monday, some of them in critical condition. Rescue efforts are ongoing in Beirut's southern suburb of Obesity, where a 6-story building was hit, trapping many inside. Reports indicate that an entire family remains buried under the rubble. The strikes extended to southern Lebanon, affecting several villages. Israeli strikes also killed journalist Hadi al-Sayed when his home was targeted. In retaliation, Hezbollah launched missiles at Israeli military bases, including the Al-Yakim base near Haifa. The situation has led to a mass exodus, with tens of thousands of Lebanese fleeing their homes. Approximately 500 have crossed into Syria to escape the violence. The UN has raised alarms over the humanitarian crisis, while world leaders have condemned the civilian casualties. In an interview with CNN, Irish Premier Simon Harris said that Israeli attacks in Lebanon have caused an extraordinarily dangerous situation. The U.S. Special Envoy to monitor and combat anti-Semitism is under fire for flippant remarks regarding recent attacks in Lebanon, which have been linked to Israel. At a recent event hosted by the Israeli-American Council, Ambassador Deborah Lipstadt responded jokingly to a comment about perceptions of Israeli vulnerability by saying, "Do you want a beeper?" She was referencing last week's attacks in Lebanon, in which pagers exploded, killing at least 9 people and wounding several thousand. An 8-year-old girl was among those killed. Lipstadt's comment has drawn sharp criticism from the Council on American Islamic Relations, or CAIR, which called them dangerous and disgusting. CAIR's Robert McCaw emphasized that her remarks undermined diplomatic efforts to de-escalate tensions in the region. He is urging the Biden administration to fire Lipstadt, asserting that such insensitivity should not be tolerated in U.S. foreign policy discussions. Israeli airstrikes in Gaza have killed 17 Palestinians within the past 24 hours, raising the total death toll since October 7th to a staggering 41,467, according to the Palestinian Health Ministry. Over 95,921 others have been injured in the ongoing war. Israeli forces bombed 2 schools on Monday, which were being used as shelters for internally displaced people in the Nusayrat and Al-Shati refugee camps. At least 10 people were killed, including 5 women and children. On Tuesday morning, airstrikes hit homes and residential blocks in Gaza City, Khan Yunis, and Rafah, killing at least 7 people, according to local media. Heavy rain flooded makeshift camps across Gaza on Monday, forcing families into the open late at night. The UN says humanitarian access into Gaza must be increased, and there are nowhere near enough tarps and tents. Meanwhile, the armed wing of Hamas said it ambushed a convoy of Israeli armored vehicles in Rafah. Israel faces accusations of genocide at the International Court of Justice for its war and violence in Gaza. The U.S. is deploying additional troops to the Middle East as Israel intensifies its airstrikes across Lebanon, triggering significant retaliation from Hezbollah. With approximately 40,000 U.S. troops already in the region, Pentagon spokesman Major Patrick Ryder says the deployment is a precautionary measure in response to rising tensions. Israeli airstrikes have killed at least 356 people in Lebanon, including 21 children, and left over 1,200 injured, according to Lebanese authorities. Prime Minister Najib Mikati condemned Israel's attack on the country, describing them as an attempt to devastate Lebanese communities. Meanwhile, Hezbollah has retaliated with rocket attacks targeting Israeli military sites. South Africa's former Minister of International Relations, Naledi Pandor, has been appointed the new chairperson of the Nelson Mandela Foundation. She will take over from Professor Jabulu Ndebele. Pandor will be the third person to hold this title since the foundation's inception by Nelson Mandela himself in 1999. The organization aims to promote Mandela's vision of freedom and equality for all. Mandela was a South African anti-apartheid activist who was the country's first black head of state, as well as the first elected in a fully representative democratic election. Pandor expressed her honor at the appointment and stressed the importance of continuing Mandela's legacy in a complex global landscape. She will officially assume her role on October 1st and attend the 22nd Nelson Mandela Annual Lecture on Thursday. Pandor has become the face of South Africa's campaign for the Palestinian cause. As a result, she has reportedly received threats, after which she sought extra security for her safety. Pandor says Israel's intelligence agency uses threats to intimidate those who oppose its oppression. In a controversial endorsement, Hamtramck's Muslim mayor backs Donald Trump. Details after the break, so stay tuned, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. The mayor of Hamtramck, Michigan, Amir Ghalib, has endorsed Republican candidate Donald Trump for president. This is despite Trump's history of Islamophobic rhetoric and policies. Ghalib is mayor of the first city in the U.S. with an all-Muslim council. His endorsement was shared on Facebook. It comes just days after Trump announced plans to reinstate a travel ban on Muslim-majority countries. Trump's 2017 executive order, while he was in office, restricted entry from 7 nations, including Yemen, where Ghalib was born. In his statement, Ghalib acknowledged his differences with Trump, but emphasized what he called the Republican presidential candidate's principled approach. Observers say Ghalib's endorsement comes amid his work to build stronger ties between socially conservative Muslims and Republicans in Michigan. New York's Albany Book Festival faced backlash last weekend. This was after a scheduled panel was abruptly canceled when authors Aisha Gawad and Lisa Ko objected to participating in the event with essayist Elisa Albert due to her Zionist beliefs. In a November 1, 2023 op-ed piece for Tablet magazine, Albert referred to those opposing Israel's war on Gaza as apologists for terror. She has also been vocal in her support for Israel and its war. Albert received an email 2 days before the panel at the book festival, notifying her that Gawad and Co. would not join her on the panel. In an interview with Israeli newspaper Haaretz, Albert says she was shaken by the response. This was especially because it came from an institute she had worked with and volunteered for over many years. California Attorney General Rob Bonta has filed a lawsuit against Exxon Mobil. He alleges that the oil giant misled the public about the recyclability of plastics. The lawsuit was initiated in San Francisco County. It follows years of investigation and has been hailed by environmental advocates as a pivotal moment in the fight against plastic pollution. Critics say Exxon and others have long perpetuated myths about recycling, masking the reality of low recycling rates while continuing to ramp up plastic production. Book bans in U.S. schools nearly tripled last year, with over 10,000 titles censored, according to PEN America. The spike coincides with the implementation of new censorship laws in states like Iowa and Florida, driving thousands of bans. In Iowa, a law banning materials deemed inappropriate for K-12 students has led to widespread censorship. Florida's legislation also targets books addressing sexual content. Penn highlights the emergence of extreme measures, such as Utah's no-read list, which could result in statewide bans if multiple districts challenge a title. Although 66% of Americans disapprove of book banning, Republican-led legislatures continue to push for more restrictive laws. Advocates warn that the future of diverse literary access hangs in the balance. Bangladesh has initiated a formal protest against Indian Home Minister Amit Shah. This is for his controversial statements regarding Bangladeshi nationals during his recent visit to India's state of Jharkhand. On Friday, Shah threatened to take extreme measures against alleged Bangladeshi infiltrators if his Bharatiya Janata Party gains power in the state. The state's legislative assembly election is scheduled from November to December to elect all 81 of its members. Bangladesh's foreign ministry described Shah's remarks as highly deplorable. It stressed that such statements undermine the spirit of mutual respect between the two countries. A protest note was submitted to the Deputy High Commissioner of India in Bangladesh's capital, Dhaka. It is urging the Indian government to advise its leaders to refrain from making such objectionable comments. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has condemned the severe gender-based discrimination faced by women in Afghanistan. During a recent event focused on women's inclusion in the country's future, he described it as a deep crisis. The UN chief criticized new laws that strip Afghan women and girls of their rights, leading to their confinement at home with limited access to education and work. Guterres highlighted the alarming rates of violence, honor killings, and maternal mortality affecting women, stating that many feel unsafe, isolated, and powerless. He emphasized that such oppression not only violates human rights, but also hampers national development. Guterres urged Afghan authorities to lift restrictions on women, reopen schools, and ensure their full participation in society. Bangladesh's army has officially permitted female soldiers to wear hijab with their uniforms. This approval was granted on September 3rd. It aims to support willing female personnel who wish to express their religious identity while serving. Women officers were previously not discouraged from wearing hijab, so there was no ban or restriction. However, analysts say that due to the nature of duty, soldiers were not encouraged to wear hijab. Women were first integrated into the army in officer roles in the year 2000 and as soldiers in 2013. Researchers at Kobe University in Japan have made a significant discovery that could change the approach to obesity treatment. They have identified 2 new protein variants which play a vital role in enhancing fat burning during exercise. Led by endocrinologist Ogawa Wataru, the study reveals that these variants are produced at higher levels during short bursts of activity, boosting energy metabolism. In experiments, mice lacking these variants burned less fat and consumed more oxygen, making them susceptible to obesity. Human trials reflected similar findings, showing that individuals with elevated levels of PGC1 alpha B and C had lower body fat and improved oxygen consumption during workouts. Observers say the discoveries suggest that targeting these protein variants could lead to innovative drugs for weight management. This would offer an alternative to traditional diet-based methods. That's all from our Chicago studios tonight. Thank you for watching Muslim News. We are a community channel dedicated to bringing you stories you can trust. Please like, share, and subscribe to our content. You can also comment to let us know what you think of our coverage. You can donate now by visiting muslimnetwork.tv/donate. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV. Salam.